Welcome everybody to our live stream here on lichess and Twitch. I am International Master William Paschall. It is brutally hot here. Wonder why we're starting a little bit late. I'm roasting in my office, and I think this is the way it's going to be all summer. Roasted master of chess. What is up, Mr. Coffee? Thank you for your true service to the stream and your faithful followage. My water bottle is like melted. Alright. It is hot. I just wanna... I feel like mid-July here. Feels like mid-July. It's like 90 outside Fahrenheit. The office heat. So, coffee is chilling. Alright. I've got 8 games so far for tonight's stream. No, there's no playing viewers. Yeah, I'm taking viewers between 15 seconds and 2 minutes games. Oh, sorry, I have respect for chess. No. I'm analyzing subscribers' games that were submitted. Far too hot to be playing chess at the moment. Alright, where's our, let's see, study title? Is my title still on viewer games? What? No, it says analysis stream with viewer games. With viewers as games. I guess I should put a parenthesis. Whatever. Whatever, apostrophe, same thing. I'm good with grammar. I need to put an apostrophe. To be grammatically correct. How is it S apostrophe? I'm too hot to worry about it. I really don't care. Alright, please don't be a grammar Nazi. Now, where are studies I contribute to? I'm a little worried about my computer. It's like, I better get out like an ice pack for it or something. Computer needs an ice pack of its own. Kind of cool it down. Oh no, you didn't just ask that. This guy just asked the same question. Are you serious? No, I'm not going to play with viewers. Do you ever watch my streams? The guy just asked the exact same question. I gotta change the title of the stream. This is not good. Alright. I'm gonna get like 1 million people asking me this stupid question. Analysis stream of games. Oof. Analysis stream. Yeah. That viewers thing, man. Everyone interprets that weirdly. No, we're just gonna think. Get out the grammar bot. Man, if you just put viewers' games in the topic, they're all asking the same question. I do the same thing every stream, though. I mean, I have the same pattern to my streams. Mondays and Wednesdays I play Blitz. Tuesdays is a tournament. Thursdays analysis stream. Fridays Blitz. There's a schedule somewhere buried in my Twitch page. Welcome, Mr. Coffee, Sean Pinto, Asterbait, BG, Mubot. I didn't sleep really well last night. I don't know, I feel a little bit... I don't think it's my COVID vaccine from Monday. That should be worn out by now. Alright, first game is Yabatis versus Ma 7 Yo. Yabatis is white. Yabatis is not here. Always trust your grammar to AI. Man, the bane of English teachers everywhere. And they thought the calculator would be a problem. I hear you're drinking red wine now. Yeah, I'm trying to switch back. Although, I normally don't drink red wine in incredibly hot temperatures, and it's really bad here. I'm trying to change my lifestyle a little bit due to my blood pressure being too high. I saw a cardiologist yesterday, and I'm okay, but I do have high blood pressure. So, I have to cut down on, you know, salt and take some medication. But I'm basically okay. Yeah, this is Yabatis. Yeah, I do have a little red wine here. I just started it a few minutes ago. I have a glass of red wine. Limited amounts, of course. But it's too hot. You know, normally I would drink rosé, but I think the red is a little more healthy. Knight c3, e5, d3. And now d5. This is basically like Yabatis is playing black. He's played the system a lot. It's not objectively a great opening. But the point is it takes people out of their knowledge. He's not trying to prove that this is necessarily good. But I admit that his results and my results, trying such setups as well, have been profitable, let's say. Welcome, Mr. Slowhand. Good to see you. Nice game by Yabatis. We didn't even finish it yet. It's a little early. Mr. Slow. It's early for the pronouncement of a nice game. G3. Basically, Yabatis is playing the let's call it the Pirtz Nimzovich defense, the Pirtz Nimzovich hybrid defense reversed. Oh, you reviewed it earlier. A6, and I don't understand this move at all. It's so funny. Let me turn off the engine. Black literally played the most random move I've ever seen. The grammar engine says analysis of the games played by viewers, which still implies like I'm going to be playing viewers. So there'll be no end to the question of whether I'm playing viewers if I make the title that. I'm just going to stick with in-depth analysis. In-depth analysis implies like a lot of thought goes into it, and we can weed out those people who just want to like play like 15-second blitz games and stuff. Alright, A6 is like absurd. I mean, this is obviously absurd. It has no point. I mean, there's no bishop coming to B5. It's just an utterly irrelevant move. bishop g2, bishop e6, e4, and now, I mean, it's kind of like, in a way, this reminds me of the initial Dunst opening line, like knight c3, d5, e4. Let's talk about the most philosophical question in a Dunst. Should black push or take? I mean, I think it depends on personal preference, really. What's up, Tezek? Tezek, if I'm pronouncing it Hungarianly. Is that correct, Mr. Coffee? The Hungarianly pronunciation with the eek sound. That's the philosophical question. Push or take? They're both good. But I think it really depends on whether you like closed or open positions. That's a fundamental question at the end of the day. However, here, now e4, this diagonal is better than the average bear. So I would think this move makes more sense now than it does in that early position. Black plays d4, knight e2. This pawn probably should lend support to its brethren pawns with c5. Better late than never would be my appreciation here. a6 again. It's like a3 in the white side of the King's Indian. You know, it's utterly useless. But still, I think c5. He doesn't play that. He plays bishop d6 here. And now e takes f4. Black says, all right, I'm not going to maintain that center. A minute ago, I recommended c5, and it's reinforcing d4. Pawn takes. This is a problem. Clearly, right? But black goes on a tangent. Check. Now, interesting position. What do we do? I would prefer to play knight g3 and retain the ability to castle if I can. The problem with this, it takes pressure off of that d4 pawn, as well as leaving f4 hanging. I didn't calculate this, but I imagine it's possible. I imagine white is better. So that's a solid alternative. Yabatis played like they do oftentimes in the modern, with the black side of the modern, this kind of idea of allowing queen h5 check and playing king f8. I mean, I don't know the list of players who contributed to this kind of concept, like offhand. Suttles was a big one. The German guy, what's his name? Robach. Was he Austrian? Was Robach Austrian? I don't know. Maybe Mr. Slowhand knows. Maybe someone from Europe knows. I don't know. Karl Robach. King f1. But anyway, those guys from the 80s, the 70s and 80s, when they played a lot of modern defense, started to become really popular. They influenced people like Yasser Seirawan. White is playing the modern defense in reverse, essentially. So this queen coming out, it's a little like a Steinitz French, King's Gambit, whatever. It's a little like the King's Gambit, where you induce queen h4 check, lose the right to castle, but now black's queen is out of position. Is it worth it? So, white has strong pawns. Black has a weak pawn on d4. The queen is misplaced, but white can't castle. I don't like black's position here. White has a powerful bishop on the long diagonal, those powerful pawns and the weak pawn. It doesn't compensate. The fact that white can't castle doesn't compensate for all of black's problems. Now this move looks kind of artificial too. Obviously not a developing move. And then Yabatis, who's normally aggressive, could say just play like knight f3. But he plays queen e1 here, just offering a trade into an ending. And black, like, well, I don't know. What is he supposed to do? I mean, if black really had some guts, I guess they should play like queen d8 or maybe queen e7. There are problems, though. I mean, queen g3, this pawn is just hanging. I mean, how do you play? So takes. Now, what should black play in this position? I mean, I guess c5, right? You can't just lose your central pawn for nothing. But check out what he plays. Bishop takes e2 check. Or just not check, but bishop takes e2. Why? Why would black like voluntarily give up their bishop for no reason in this position? I mean, if it's getting trapped, you know, is he afraid it's getting trapped with like f5? Not so easy to trap it, you know. Black lost his mojo, that's for sure. But let's say c5. c5, e5, bishop somewhere. And then bishop takes b7, rook a7, bishop somewhere. And white's just up a pawn for nothing. That's my evaluation. So he decides to take here for no reason. By the way, white's knights are redundant. So this is like an extra dumb move. You're not only like trading a powerful bishop for a knight, you're like helping white's development while you're at it. Great. c5. Now black has weaknesses all over the white squares. Concrete white complex is totally weak. Yabatis plays e5. And by the way, it's not the only good move. We also have this, like utterly destroying his pawn structure in the center. We're destroying his strong point. c3 is very strong. Even b4 is interesting, although I think that's kind of risque. Let's just play like c3 or e5. e5 here, and then black, you know, is just losing the b7 pawn. I would take it. I have no qualms with taking this pawn. But Yabatis is like an anti-materialist, almost, to a fault. So instead he plays c3. It's also a good move. Black takes, pawn takes, building the center. He's big on center. This is like a... It reminds me of the auto graveyard where they have those giant things that like smash the cars or whatever. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? The giant things in the auto graveyard. What do you call them? Like car smashers? So this pawn, these pawns like rolling are like one of those things that makes the cars into little boxes that they just stack up. The old broken down cars. The compactor. Yeah, auto graveyard car compactor. B takes C, knight h6, d4. And now I was like, okay, cd4, cd4. It's a little late for this. I don't know what I wanted him to play. He doesn't have a good move. Like, he could have played this, but Yabatis would have done this anyway. Like, the compactor's coming no matter what you do. So I like, he illustrates how material is not that important. Knight h6, d4, the pawn is important, the center is important. Here, knight b4, hole here, averting the fork. Check, knight g3. He's got this square, which I like because it's a white square. Check, here, check. Nice development, right? And then this is hanging, white starting on the 7th. There's the pawn chain and the bishop on this. Now, I guess if you really want to be a purist, you could play like a4 in this position just to try to break through. You have to scoop those pawns, though. So here, here, and then I thought penetrating the 7th makes sense, but he wanted to rob black of the right to castle. I think this is a very good move. It gets in the way. It actually gets in the way of his rook penetrating. But the fact is that black has to play king f8, and that was worth it to induce that. Now I think just there's a whole bunch of moves that win, you know. All sorts of moves. Bishop d5, knight e4, probably a4, any number of moves. He plays knight e4, knight there, threatening check, and then a funny thing happened. He allows his family fork with knight d4 check. Luckily, the bishop's protected, so he's only dropping the exchange. So after check, here, takes, takes. Believe it or not, white's still winning. Because he has protected pass pawn on the 6th, and the black king is paralyzed, the rook on h8 can't enter the game. And the black bishop at h4 really has no squares available. White is literally like down the exchange and completely winning in this position. There's nothing that black can do. I mean, not in a timely fashion. If black had like a million moves, he could get out of this. But he basically has to break up white's pawn chain. The only way to break up white's pawn chain would be something like h6 and g5. But if you do play g5, you have to watch out for f5. And the amoeba just like goes forward. White's not really worried about black's queenside pawn majority. h6, king f3. I thought this was unnecessary, actually. Frankly, I thought a lot of players, including myself, would be strongly advocating king d4. The white squares are very solid because black doesn't have a white square bishop. I vote for king d4, king d5, and then just f5, e6. The king becomes part of the attacking force. I did not check this with the engine, though. Yabatis plays king f3. I say king d4. Let's see what the oracle calls. Of course, like neither. But my move made the top 3 list. Obviously, rook a1 just like wins material and breaks through. So that's very strong. Bishop d5 threatens rook c7. So the computer is going for more direct tactical wins. But this is the best place for the king on d4. King f3 was passive. Fearful. King g8. And then he plays this. This is weird, man. I don't like this king over there by itself. It should be coordinating with the other pieces on d5 and supporting that duo of pawns. Now this move really weakened black's position. Check. King g7. Another hesitant move by white, rook c2, I really don't like. That gives black free time. Rook f8. Now check. It seemed to me that Yabatis didn't know how to win this position. He's kind of like holding mode, not knowing exactly what he's going to do next, trying to find the plan as he goes along. And then finally he played f5. Now we have an interesting moment. Again, I didn't check this with the computer. It looks like black can play f6. Well, I've seen Yabatis lose a lot of good positions. Playing with your food can be dangerous. I think this f6 doesn't look that simple to me. Because if you take it with a knight, you get hit with this exchange sack. And now take, take, take. Maybe white is winning, but I'm not really confident about this. This doesn't feel quite like enough. We really don't want to allow that exchange sack. Maybe we have this here, and this is similar to the game, like e7. It's possible white's winning a whole rook and nothing but the rook. So help you God. It does look that way. There's a double threat of taking and pushing to e8. And this is similar to what happened. So I think that's enough. You know, this check doesn't do anything. We're just going to win a rook and be up a piece. But if you allowed this, I think that black can survive. Maybe. Big maybe. There might even still be like mating nets. Maybe this king can come in or something. But still, I mean, black's got to try that. Instead, he played bishop e1. And now rook here, here, and it's even stronger because this rook is supporting e7. And now f6 here, knight here. Still, white is struggling to actually break through. Fianchettoed knight. Bishop d4, knight f5, hitting h6, hitting the bishop, take, take. And then this was cute. I actually thought he would play for mate here. So, if only we could play rook lift over and it's just mate with knight e7 and rook h6. Let's see what the oracle says. Yeah, we checked this. Don't know. I mean, you might be able to play like this, 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 and win that way. But actually, this is the best move. And it was cute the way he actually won. Knight h6, king h7, and he sacks his knight to create 3 connected pass pawns. Bang. Extra rook doesn't mean anything here. There's a threat of e7, e8. And there it is. Mind you, black can give up a rook, but white will still have another pawn on the 7th. So the best defense is rook f8. It'd be easy for a beginner to blunder in drawing position. For example, like take, take, rook e8, here. I don't know if this is a draw, but I mean, they're theoretical problems. Because black maintains the blockade of d8. As long as he can maintain the blockade of d8, I'm not sure that white can actually win this position. So there's a better way to do it. On rook f8, we just play e8. Now you have to take, and then we take with the queen. And we have another queen. And then you have to take, and then we're up a rook. So that's more or less like what happened. Black played this. Okay, this is even worse. Takes, e8, queen. Takes, e8, queen. And then it's just over. I suspect the fastest way to mate is probably something with like king f5, king g6. But, anyway, it doesn't matter. Move 11, welcome everybody to the stream. I've got 1 game down. We have 7 more games to go. The list includes Mr. Slowhand, Tezaik, who are both present. Princess Chess, have not heard of her tonight. Asterbait is here. Nefidov is not here. Flamingo Pop, aka Angelina's favorite something, and Sumaher versus Zen Chess. Is that a submission from Sumaher, I guess? Alright. Both of those guys are subscribers. Key Rushing, thank you, Asterbait. Alright, thank you to Ubatis. Ubatis is not here. He's at his local chess club meeting. Do we have room for another submission? Absolutely. We always have room for another submission from the VIP Hype Train Director. Move 11. I'm sorry, former Hype Train Coordinator. Welcome everybody. We should be back tomorrow morning. I canceled 2 Blitz streams this week due to doctor's appointments, but I'm going to be back to Friday morning blitz challenges tomorrow if I survive this heat. Alright. Mr. Move 11, please submit to me said game. Directly to me. Sorry, Ubatis is not here. Send me the game, sir. We're going to get started with Mr. Slowhand. We've got follows from Sheen Rate Sensei and Finite Division Ring. Thank you for the follows. Thank you guys for supporting stream wherever possible. Move 11 donated 2 gift subs this week. Cooking Rooks with 1. Cooking Rooks with 2,500 bits donated. Move 11 with 600. Zen Chest with 500. Thank you all. Replying to build 2WK. Am I too late to submit? Well, I think you're not. You would be game 10. Move 11. Move 11 is game 9. Bill, if you are a subscriber and you submit a game, you're the final game for today. It's not that it's that hot in Budapest, but my apartment is roof apartment, and I should build like a. They're supposed to build some new apartments on my building in the next couple of years. I should ask them if I can build like a roof deck or something. It'd be awesome. Maybe while they're at it, we can add like a roof deck on top of my apartment. That would be an idea. It is just like brutally hot here. Okay, I've got the submission from Move 11. Sharing is caring. Move 11, you didn't do it again. Move 11, I can never get your games. Make me, Move 11, make me a contributor to your, what is that, a study? It doesn't work. I don't understand. You must have some setting turned on. I mean, I can always go over it like this. Dude, it's fine. I'll just not put it in the study. But I mean, I'll forget if we're not careful. That's all. You like won't be in the list. You're number 9, technically. Don't worry about it. I can just analyze it separately. You just won't officially be in the study. Alright. Why am I doing this? Learn, study, studies I contribute to. Bang. Alright. Like, where is it? Sladgy's analysis. What is that, Bill's study? Bisonov. Bisonov is Bill T2WK, right? This one will add. We just have to remember that Move 11 is number 9. I did it again. Alright. Thank you guys for submitting games. I mean, we're full up for today. I'm going to game 2. Mr. Slow. Make it so, number 1. Just for Mr. Coffee. E4. Oh man. This was our epic Aliakin. Well, I didn't mention, thank you very much, guys. While I was putting that game in the study, just a few seconds ago, Move 11 gifted a tier 1 sub to Akatosh994. And Bill2WK just gifted a sub to Sushi MYT. Thank you both. Alright, we've got Aliakin's defense against... At the time I didn't know who I was playing because it was my Sunday Simul. And I keep the names anonymous for the first half of the games. So I don't know that I'm playing Mr. Slow. This exchange variation against Aliakin, it's a bit of a problem for black. You know, back in the day, the main line was C takes D. This was formerly the way the black would play, mostly. And it's more dynamic to capture toward the center, but there's just some problems. Like D5 is a bit of a problematic line. Knight C3, G6, Bishop E3. This is also kind of a problematic line. So at some point I was like, well, if I play the Aliakins, I have to play E takes D. But it's basically like exchange French, where black doesn't have his pawn on D5. It's in a way, like, you could look at it as a kind of like bad exchange French. My knight is on a bad square. A little bit of pressure on C4, but that's not that big a deal. And I don't have the strong center. I have a pawn on D6 instead of on D5. So white is better here. But it's symmetrical, not easy to play. Mr. Slow seems like he knows what he's doing. Alright, Knight C3, Bishop E7. And I'm not that well versed in the theory, not being a really serious Aliakin's defense player. So Bishop E2. This move I don't think I've ever faced before in this position, although I didn't really think about it at the time. It's kind of a rare move order by white. You know, I think white can play the standard setup with Bishop D3. Usually Bishop D3, Knight E2. That's like kind of traditional. I wonder what Mr. Slowhand's like secret analysis is. This a secret move, or is it just like you're just making a random move? Well, I mean, the idea is like the EF Caro, you know. White plays Bishop D3, and he wants to avoid like pins with Bishop G4. So typically, you got Bishop D3, Knight E2, you know, and you can meet Bishop G4 to F3. Obviously, the idea of white playing a Knight to E2 gives him various options: Knight F4, Knight G3. Whatever, you know, maybe moving his pawns forward, for all we know. But I had never seen this particular move order before. So Mr. Slow revealed his inspiration. He said it was a Soltius suggestion. I don't think, you know, there's anything wrong with it, but I'm also not sure what it really does. It seems okay to me, though. The problem for black is like there is no great setup. This is really an issue, like where to put this bishop. I find it on F5, it tends to get attacked. So I castled, Knight F3, and now, I mean, I realize when I play this move that it's going to be probably not like the standard move. But I'm not, you know, I'm not really excited about like Bishop G4. I've played these type of positions before, and oftentimes the bishop gets kicked back. Sometimes you have to worry about G4, G5. It's kind of tricky. I just don't think that black has any sort of magic solution to equalize. Looking at another move I played recently in a similar position was Bishop F6. but that always has a tendency to get attacked by like knight e4. And that's something that happened in a not so distant game like last week, where I had problems because I walked into knight e4 a couple weeks ago in a blitz game. I felt like my bishop got trapped, or so I'm not certain what black's supposed to do, you know, and it's just not that clear to me. Are the two bishops not as good in a symmetrical structure here? Yeah, I mean, I think they're limited, so that's interesting. Like, if we go bishop g4, h3, like, hypothetically, take. Well, this is hanging, right? But b7's hit, so we play c6. Move 11's question is the bishop, you know, bishop pair not that big a deal because the symmetrical structure? I think yes, if the structure remains symmetrical. But white is still slightly better. Let's say like b3, d5, c5, knight c8, or knight d7. I don't know where this knight should go. I guess it has to go to d7, try to go to f8 and e6. But in general, I subscribe to that theory, move 11, that the bishops want imbalance in pawn structure. But I don't think that most people would make this exchange. You know, they're generally going to play like bishop h5. But as I said, I've had games where stuff like this happens. I remember Nick DeFermian had a game once where he did like g4 and like g5. In some position could be very inconvenient where this pawn rushes forward, hitting the bishop on f6. Maybe this example is okay for black, but just you have to be on guard all the time for these different ways like your bishops can get attacked by the white pieces and pawns. So I decided to try something different. Long story short, I was like, alright, let's experiment with a new idea here, c6. Looking at it now, it looks like a couple reasonable players played it. Einar Gossel and Ralph Appel. c6. I mean, I'm going to play d5 at some point and turn it into what is like a Petrov, basically. So one player played d5. That's a resolute idea. You know, this is not a symmetrical pawn structure anymore. Alex Shabalov versus who? Well, that looks familiar. Where did that game get in there? That's really weird, man. You've transposed to my game with Shabalov from 1998. That was funny. I played the Alyakin against Shabalov because I didn't know he was like an expert in Alyakin. He like studied with the Latvian grandmaster who's an expert, Bagirov. Bagirov was like one of his coaches, probably. But this is funny. This happened by a completely different move order. I'm surprised this game is in here. I don't even know if I have it at home. That's crazy, though. He later had a game in the same line with another guy in 2004. Richard Polacek? Who is Richard Polacek? That must be like a USCF rating or something. CD4, CD5. What did I play? I played knight 8d7. Castles. Man, this is a blast from the past. I played rook e8. Knight d4. Bishop f8. a4, a5. Bishop e5, g6. Man, this is a game I don't know. I was probably like in trouble. But somehow I survived. Anyway, that's another story. So little did Mr. Slohan know that he could transpose to my own game with d5. It's a totally different line. We played a completely different line and reached the same position by a different move order. Alright, it's a funny coincidence though. C6, castles, and now D5. Yeah, I mean, it's a little early to play D5 for black. I don't have to play it right away. One of the ideas is that I can play bishop G4, take, and then take on C4. Because there's no bishop takes B7. The Weed Master always joked with me that I was crazy to play the Aliekins defense against Shaba, but I didn't know. You know, he plays like a lot of different stuff. I didn't keep track of all of his different openings. I remember that tournament. Maybe I like re-entered or something. I think I lost to a weak player, re-entered, and we played in the 2-day schedule. Maybe in the first or second round. So I was actually like pissed off that I had lost another game before that or something. That's why I played Aliekins defense. I only play it when I'm like on tilt. D5, C5, knight D7. So we transposed to a game. Mr. Slow can play pawn takes pawn, but this doesn't look like anything. I think the way he does this is right. He's got to take the space. Asterbait would appreciate. Asterbait, you played a similar idea against me recently. So I think my D5 is faulty. It's too early. There's two good players here, Pavlovich and Ralph Apple, who both played other moves. Bishop G4 had been played by a bunch of grandmasters. And Pavlovich played knight A6, which is, I'm not down with this move. I don't like the look of that. I mean, the two bad knights now. But I would buy Bishop G4. Bishop G4, it's like a normal move. That's what I should play. D5 is too early. Mr. Slow plays C5. He has a space advantage. Now knight D7. And he's just better. I mean, white just has a space advantage here. Bishop F4, same as Christian Bauer. So interestingly here, Christian Bauer's opponent played B6. I mean, I think I thought about this, but to me it looked like a dead end. I mean, what's the sense in playing B6 if white can just play B4? I think I'm just weakening the queen side there. It's a 2200. So I just don't see what this does. You know, B6, B4, A5, A3, Christian Bauer. The guy played B takes C5. It's like totally random. I mean, what is black achieved? He's trying to play Bishop A6? Maybe that's something. But what is black achieved? Anybody? Raise your hands. What has black achieved here by playing B6? He's weakened himself. He's weakened his own pawn structure and like made a target for white on C6. Like, that's basically all black achieved. Even if we trade our bad bishop off, who cares? I mean, white has this very solid target to attack on C6 now. Opening the G file. Yeah. No, I don't like the way that Francisco played this. I don't think we can do B6. So I'm worse. Rook E8, I'm digging deep, I'm playing this, and then maybe I can get out. If you think about it, Mr. Slow might as well play like B4, B5, right? This is a normal plan. B6 just like forces white. It's like playing C6 in the King's Indian and playing C takes D. You're doing the hard lifting, the heavy lifting for white there by playing B6. That's why you normally don't attack the head of the pawn chain. I want to put pressure on this pawn on D4. If I can play knight F8, for example, knight F8, bishop G4, which I should have played before, and then knight E6, and maybe bishop F6. We have the ability to put pressure on the white pawn on D4. The base of his pawn chain, effectively. Not this, the front of his pawn chain. So he doesn't do that. Mr. Slow is oriented toward attacking the king. Now knight f8, and I have threats of bishop g4. I guess I expected you to play h3 here. That's probably what I would do. h3 is a completely normal move. Also gives the bishop retreat square. This is also not bad, though. He just basically takes the steam out of bishop g4. There's no pin. So Mr. Slow left me in a quandary, like, well, what do I do now? I guess if you're playing like Bent Larson, you have to consider that black might go... Well, you could go like ballistic with g5, but... What are the options here? Anyone? Suggestions? Comments? I was not happy with my position. I missed my chance to play bishop g4, waiting too long. Definitely. Now Mr. Slow is better. This is sort of sad, and I was very uncomfortable. The bishop is blocked in, but it was too late now. Bishop g4 and 85. Where do I go? You know, maybe it's something for real. Maybe I have this. Do you have knight g5? I'm curious what Mr. Slow would have done. Would you have played this? Maybe I can go like bishop e6 and f6 and kick you out. Or would you go here, attacking h7 3 times, forcing me to maybe weaken my king side slightly? It's an interesting question. No, you can't. You drop a piece. Alright, duh. Sorry. To ask a stupid question, get a stupid answer. Where's the peanut gallery? Bishop g4, knight e5, bishop e6. And now I'm going to kick you out. Hence, best move for white is h3. You should have played h3, not giving me a chance to play bishop g4. Very interesting. So after queen c2, I thought it was too late, but I should have played it anyway. And I didn't. I played too passively. Now white's better. It's like the ultimate exchange French. So now I'm just worse. I don't know what to do here. Maybe I could have played like knight f6 or something. But I really have no clue. Like, my pieces can't move. It's a disaster. So I played this. Pretty ugly move. The plan was, I guess, to stop this check so I could play knight e6 and the knight back to f8. I played this. He plays h4 going ballistic. Probably justified. Mr. Slow likes to attack like a wild man. And now I saw this, but I had a terrible hallucination. My hallucination was that after rook takes e6, f takes e6, bishop takes g6. What was my hallucination? Oh yeah, I forgot my rook was hanging. This like came as a surprise to me. I was like, oh, you can take my rook. Knight f8. You know, I thought, okay, I don't take this. That's winning for white. But this was like desperation. Now, I guess white is just clearly better. But weird position, right? I thought I was up 2 pieces for rook or something in my mind. It was really weird. If you follow the commentary, basically the whole thing was based on this hallucination. You know, I thought I could do something and I couldn't. I saw this, I saw this, I saw this, and then I did this. But I don't know what to do. I have to do some safe move. Maybe like bishop f6. Probably bishop f6. That's apparently losing. Wow, you have bishop c7. Yikes. It's very hard for black to find a move here. Does anybody have a suggestion? I mean, I did it to myself by missing several opportunities to finish my development with bishop g4. Now I'm basically paralyzed. Knight f6. Yes. So this is the way I have to do it. Zlatko Ilinčić would have found this move. Okay. I had to stop him. So I played this. I saw this, but I just like forgot that my rook would be attacked. So now I had to go into this. And I should be like positionally lost now. I mean, the bishop is really bad. Material is equal, right? No, I'm actually down a pawn. I'm down a pawn and I have a bad bishop. And I survived this somehow. Because of Mr. Slow's time pressure. G3. This will actually come back to haunt him. Because of the white squares. Possibly. With the white square bishop. I think he ought to exchange queens here. I mean, you're up a pawn in an endgame after queen g6. And you have me with a bad bishop. Objectively, I don't see why you have to avoid exchanging queens in a practical situation. Depending on the time pressure. Queen d2, queen h5 here, bishop d7. I still thought I was like, I didn't realize the material was just a pawn down. I thought I had 2 pieces for rook and pawn or something when I was playing this game. Because I'm going through 25 boards, and I'm just kind of like keeping the material balances somewhere, you know, in the back of my mind. I'm not really thinking about it consciously. I thought I had roughly material equality. But then I realized at some point, wait, we have the same pieces. Like, I'm not up 2 pieces for a rook. What's happening? I thought I was. I thought I had compensation for my awful position, basically. That's what it was, you know. I'm like, okay, yeah, I know that I'm worse. I know my bishop's bad, but I thought, okay, I have 2 pieces for the rook and pawn. It's okay. But I don't. I just have a bad bishop, and I have a pawn down, you know. So this is a strong move. I mean, bishop g5. If you trade my good bishop off, I'm dead. I guess if I had more time, I would play bishop f8, but I was nervous about my queen getting trapped. Yeah, I mean, I'm very aware that my queen has no squares at this point. I didn't see how you could do it, but maybe you could do it somehow with this. The question is how Mr. So can control g4 and trap my queen. I was terrified. You know, I want to play this move, but my queen has literally nowhere to go but that square. You know, luckily, like, king here, e5 check kind of turns the tables. But normally I wouldn't let him trade bishops. But I don't see how to avoid it now. This is a good move. Alright, so here, I mean, it's possible to take with a rook. No, you have to take with pawn. Have to keep f2, keep me from getting in there. And plus you get d4 for your knight. I played rook, maybe rook f7 would have been better. Here, I mean, this is a little reckless. Frankly, you had, you know, very little care, probably thinking like there's no way you could screw this up. But objectively, maybe you shouldn't play f4. My bishop, believe it or not, got back into the game. It's happened to me on the white side of the Stonewall Dutch before, situations like this. So I am fully aware of like what could happen. Usually the knight is just totally crushing. But if my bishop was to get into the game on this diagonal or out to h5, I don't like f4. You know, he's weakening his king and weakening like the white squares. If the queen's off the board, it's no problem. Like black is losing. But if the queens are on the board, there's always a chance for an accident here for white. So I played like b6, b4 takes, rook b8, rook b3, take. Queens are still on the board. I mean, that's the magic thing. If the queens are off the board, I'm probably dead. You know, I'm just dead. But as long as I can avoid trading queens, my bishop and queen can still create mating threats on the white squares. He didn't want to let me in on h1. That's why he didn't play king f2. Though objectively, maybe... Yeah, it's tricky now. I'm not sure you're better here, are you? You're winning. Wow. You're totally winning. I wasn't sure he was better, and the computer says he's totally winning. That's a light that turned on. I mean, it's not that easy for you to beat me, though. Is it still such an advantage? No, now it's dropped down. What's your knight leaves d4? It's instructive, though. I mean, here it's like +3 for white. So you think, oh, this is easy. But you have to play g4, apparently. He said wait until g4 is on the board. Well, g4 got on the board. We had a fantastic position. Here, g4. Well, let's just say I was shocked and I thought you just blundered, and I haven't looked at it since. It's unbelievable. g4 is the winning move according to the computer. Though you could trade queens first and also play g4. Probably you looked at that. I mean, that looks insane, honestly. It looks insane. It looks like you're losing both your central pawns. King takes f4, takes, king takes e5. Like, I would be terrified to play this way with white. Now black has 2 connected passed pawns in the middle of the board. h6, king f6, are you serious? White is like winning here. Knight f3, freezing these squares. Material is equal. What an amazing position. And you can't play e5 because of takes. I'm just not in time. I need one more move to like freeze his h-pawn for this to all work. But I mean, we're in time pressure. You know, it looks like very, very dangerous for white to do that. So he wants to try to mate me. g4 he finds with 39 seconds. You played this in like 30 seconds. So obviously, I mean, I realized like pawn takes something I didn't like about that. Why did I guess king g3. It must have been king g3 that bothered me about pawn takes. And you just have this like outside pass pawn. I didn't like the look of that. That's actually the best move according to the computer. So I played the obvious king takes, queen d1 check, king takes f4, and now you had a win. I wouldn't have been surprised if I lost this. I was looking. Check. I don't remember if I saw it. I think I might have seen it. So you have this, but this doesn't work because I'm out. I was afraid I would drop my bishop in some variation, but your knight is attacked. So there's one variation where you're winning. Very, very strange position. Check here. This is mate, obviously. Queen and knight, famous for the coordination. Check here. King f7, check. It's over. So this is like the model example of king or queen and knight tandem coordinating. But Mr. Slow couldn't find it in time pressure. He finally blundered at this point with knight g2 check. I thought I was in trouble even here. Check, queen h5, king d4. But I mean, anything could happen with these passed pawns. I was afraid I was dropping my bishop, but I realized I had queen e5 at the last moment. So I expected this, check. And I was going to play queen e5. And now I'm better because I really have two connectors. My bishop can come back and stop his pawn. Like bishop a6, bishop d3. I didn't really plan it out. I saw queen h8, queen e5 at the last minute. So you played queen d1 check, you lost on time? But the position has spiraled out of control. Now white is worse. He thought he was winning a bishop, but he missed queen e5 check. I saw it, you know, pretty much like right when you were about to make your move. It was kind of just luck that I had that. I was like, oh shit, my bishop's gonna fall. I was like, oh yeah, nope, I have this. So he has a win here with queen d2 check. Very hard to find the time pressure. But a good game overall. g4, I mean, that's an amazing move, dude, to find that. Great game. Alright, everybody. We're going to move on to game number 3, Tazake. Thanks, Mr. Slowhand, for a good game. Did not realize I transposed my game with Shabalov. In order for that to happen, though, you have to play d5. Shabalov played d5 right away. That was the game we had. cd5, d5. Totally different. That game has arisen out of a completely different order of moves. I played cd6, sorry, and then Alex played d5. Absolutely different variation, and we reached the same position. d4, Tazake is black here. d4, knight f6, c4, b6. So you're playing my anti. This is my anti-London system. But it's not exactly the safest opening in general. I don't play this against c4. This is also my first tournament game ever against Rajesh Venkataramani. He was a 1500 player from New Jersey. I was unrated. I thought that you could play the Queen's Indian. This is my first tournament game in 1985. I thought that you could play the Queen's Indian against everything. So I guess I'm lying. No, this wasn't my first game. I think I played e6. My first game was e6, knight c3, b6. That's what it was. Sorry. c4, b6. Knight c3, bishop b7. This is a real system. This is the so-called like accelerated Queen's Indian. I think it's interesting, Tazake, because there's not as much theory as in a lot of openings. Let's see who is who's tried this out. No surprises. Who would be attracted to the weird defenses among the world's elite? Can you say Mamajarov? What a surprise. No, not really. Mamajarov plays everything. He's like an unsound Ivanchuk. But b6, knight c3, bishop b7, d5. This is one of the like critical tests, probably. I mean, the main thing is like what, queen c2, f3, or d5. I don't believe in this move as much. I mean, it seems like d5 somehow. It's not building white's position. You're building your position with air. You know, when you play d5, you're not developing any new pieces. You're not improving your position, really. This move is oftentimes like an overextension in the Queen's Indian and the English defense. So if you ask me what the best move was, I would probably guess queen c2. At least that's a developing move. Alright, d5. Now e6 or c6. Usually you would, I would imagine you would break. I guess c6 is too slow. I suppose it's a move. I mean, it's definitely played in the English defense. You're going to need to play e6 though. e6 is more fundamental. It develops a piece with the bishop coming out. Yeah, no, I mean e6 is more correct. Definitely. But the idea of using the c6 break, common in English defense. Alright, we've got Bakro Mamedyarov. a3. Now, it's possible that we transpose to a Trojan Queen's Indian after a3, right? A lot of games. Let's see how this would go. d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3. That's kind of necessary, huh? Knight f3 would make it a Queen's Indian. b6, a3. Yeah. Bishop e7, knight c3, and then, you see, there's no time. If we play bishop e7, d5, but you're not playing with your bishop on e7, you've got a better version. So bishop e7 here, 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 and now white's overextending. Wow, Bakro actually played that. I mean, there's an argument for it, right? This bishop is just absolutely buried on b7. Spieler Schieber. Well, I'm wondering what happens if, like, bishop d6, f4. Probably not good. So black has to play bishop e4, and then I'm not sure what's going on after e5. Objectively, I think a3 is the best. Then you play bishop d6 like Snake Benoni. Naka. Before Naka's retirement, his Twitch retirement. We both retired for Twitch. No, I mean a3 is probably critical. a3, bishop d6, then what do you do? g3 or something? g3. Okay, this is main line. This guy William Michael Brown kind of came out of nowhere to become like a GM. It's amazing that people can do that. In my day, like, you couldn't play enough tournaments in the US to become a Grandmaster. It's incredible how many opportunities there are now to play in GM and IM Norm tournaments in the US. I had to, like, go to Australia to get my first IM Norm in 1996. It's a different time now, but he plays e4, bishop e4. Yeah, it's got to be the question of what to do about e5. I would be mostly worried about e5. That hasn't been played. I mean, for a beginner, this is not easy to play. You have to go here. Your knight is hanging out in thin air, and white could do stuff like queen d4. So what now? Find the right move for black in like 5 seconds. I would say it's easy to screw this up. Let's just do takes. Take, and white has a space advantage. Maybe this isn't so simple. This type of thing wouldn't be so simple. Yeah, that's the question, Schieber-Spieler. Maybe f5? I'm not sure queen d4 is right either. You could also play queen d3. But I don't think that white has time for stuff like knight e2. Does he? What about knight e2? There's really weird lines like here. All I'm trying to say is that every single game has gone e5, but I bet if it was played on lichess with an average rating of players around 2,000, you'd have quite a few people who play e5. Everyone else has played bishop d3, like developing a piece. But what exactly happens here? So knight e4. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of shocking that no one was willing to try this for white. It's not... There's no refutation, clearly. I didn't even think of queen g4, which I should have. Recognize that's a move. I only looked at queen d4 and queen d3 and knight e2. Someone is suggesting e takes d5, but I don't think this move necessarily benefits black. You don't really want to trade your e6 pawn for the c4 pawn in general. I mean, he'll just maintain the d5 pawn, but you're going to lose that e6 pawn. That's like a good part of the defensive setup. This has never been played at the master level, but it's interesting, you know. I'm not quite sure. Computer says queen d3. Schieberspieler suggested f5 ideas. This position deserves to be tried. It deserves to be tested. The engine says it's better for black, but I don't think it's that easy. I could see screwing this up for black very easily with like one mistake. Totally possible. So, your opponent instead played this, which is awful. Isn't it awful? It looks bad. I mean, why does this benefit white? Like, I was talking about this with someone earlier today in a Benoni. One of Astrobate's opponents played d4, d5, and then took on e6. You spend 2 moves to play d4, d5, and then trade your center off on e6? Tell me that makes sense? How much time did you put in building this pawn on d5 and then you just like trade it off on e6? It's ridiculous. Alright, I think you can do like pawn takes, but it's kind of lame. This is lame. Like f3. This is like Nigel Short playing for a draw or something. I don't like taking with the d pawn. We'll do that if we have to. But the big question is this. So again, e5 is important. You know, what happens? Again, knight e4. There's a check on h5, doesn't do much. There's no here. No, this variation looks like white is concretely overextended. But DE was bad. Takes here. Now, you're getting close to some games I've had in English defenses. Maybe h6. Not a constructive move per se, but maybe this is reasonable. You just play h6. What's he gonna do? If g5, if bishop h4, I mean, I think you can just take here, honestly. This is not a big deal. Just king f8. And, okay, it's not the simplest position in the world, but black should be better. So he like has to take and give up his dark square bishop. That's pretty yucky for white. And this is just hanging. So I think bishop g5 is definitely a mistake. White has to play f3. But he's already made a terrible mistake in the previous move by playing de. So white screwed this up. This is not good. Well, Tizek just takes the pawn. Okay. Even stronger. I didn't even realize you could take the pawn. Alright. Whatever. It's a gambit. Knight f3. Bishop takes c3 check. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's okay. But there are openings where it's dangerous to take it. You know, this is... Some lines of the b6 Sicilian, for example, where I've seen it played as a gambit. I mean, let's say this is safe, dude. This is safer. You could just simply play h6, and you have a massive advantage here without any risk. Bishop e4 is a little riskier. The computer says it's like the best move, though. There's some risk involved. Yeah, I mean, I think he objectively could try this. But white naturally doesn't want to trade pieces. We can't just like take everything Stockfish says, like, oh, it's +2, it's automatically winning. This is a practical game. Queen e8 is a normal move. I'm a little worried about this pawn. Nice. Tiki Cardis, hi all. That's like the worst move I've ever seen. You might as well just like forget it, man. I mean, rook c1. Missing the point. That's terrible. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. Knight a6 where? I mean, this is what we want to do. You want to do like this? You want to do knight... I want to get castled. But like, yeah, now you might want to do knight a6. Like Uber Driver's saying, you might want to like complete your development. I mean, as I said to a lot of people lately, if you're up material, the game is basically a winning position. You don't want to take any risks. You know, I think you have a winning position. Basically, his structure is ruptured, plus you're up a pawn. You shouldn't take any risks when you're winning already. But having said that, you know, this is a problem in the Queen's India normally, that knight getting in the game. I would have probably played knight a6 rather than queen e8. I'm very big on fundamentals. Now and I was looking at this also. Knight c6 is not a bad move. Controlling the center reasonably. You might even go out on a5 to attack that pawn. But I mean, again, like a bad move by white. He's just trading pieces into a lost ending. Now this is hanging. Have we calculated rook takes f3? And it is winning. Queen takes d7, rook takes f3. You missed it. This doesn't work, right? Bishop takes, rook takes, queen takes. But you have rook takes. So I thought this was the whole basis of your of your combination. That's pretty strong. He's busted now. Bishop f3, bishop f3, g3. Look at those pieces. Plus you're gonna come up and mate him on the white squares. You forgot about the d7 pawn. Well, that's another good thing about UberDriver's suggestion of knight a6, knight c5. You would have anchored the d7 pawn. But I mean, rook c1 is an atrocity. You blundered that pawn. Okay, this is strong too. I didn't realize that. Well, I shouldn't criticize you. If knight e5 is just... If knight e5 is just winning, it doesn't matter. Ouch. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Whatever. I mean, this is winning. So the pawn isn't really hanging. Knight e5 just wins. You didn't realize that? Yeah, I forgot you could just do this. Knight h4. Knight h4 is just winning a piece. So, he's lost. And now, knight h4 anyway. Triple attack. That's pretty sweet. No. Quadruple attack. You went for the quadruple attack against g2. That's a lot of pieces attacking g2. But you missed the forced mate. Bishop takes. And suddenly it's not mate. You have a nice move here. Bishop f3. You have bishop f3, pawn f3, knight f3. That's rather difficult to answer. With the Arabian mate, rook takes g6, rook takes h2. So that would have been easy. There's probably another way here though, huh? Lots of ways. You just took and you'll attack h2. It's over. Yeah, I mean, you just play for mate. I guess he has rook g2, so this is your best move. Technically. Rook g2. Bishop takes. Bishop takes f3. Alright, it's over. But yeah, you missed the forced mate. This is good enough. Good enough for me. Alright, good game. Yeah, it seems like Tezek is improving a lot. Now I've got to see my own game, which I hate. I hate seeing my own games, guys. Princess Chess threatened me to do this. She threatened to put this game in here. From our Tuesday tournament. Ooh, you just got here. Thanks everybody for supporting the stream. Good to see Uber Driver. Princess Chess just arrived. Alright. Yeah, this was a weird game. I'm playing white, and Princess Chess is learning to play the Schliemann, so Schliemann kind of bothers me. I don't have a great system against it. So normally I always play the Spanish, but I just didn't want to do it. So I played this, and it's kind of a weird thing to do because Princess Chess also plays the Gioco Pianissimo, whatever, Italian game, in other words, herself. And the question is, like, it's like when I played the Alyakin's defense against Shabalov, you know, do you really want to play an opening that the other player plays against them? I mean, is that a good idea? Probably not, you know, in general. There can be, like, maybe some psychological game or something, but I really think that in general you want to keep the opponent in territory they're not familiar with, so probably this wasn't the best idea. Anyways, bishop c5, c3, knight f6, d3, d6 is a normal move. There's many moves. Many moves for black here. D6 is fine. Bishop B3. Now black played H6. Not my favorite move, but it's okay. Knight on BD2. Castles. Castles. And now, check this out, right? I looked this over briefly since our game on Sunday or Tuesday. And it's unbelievable. Princess Chess here played Knight E7. There are 130 games or something in the Opening Explorer. Not one, just one. One game. Not one, just one. One game out of like 130 where black played Knight E7. Now, interestingly, I saw a game very recently where it was played in a very similar position by a top player in a very similar way. I'm not sure if Princess Chess saw the same game, but generally speaking, black takes pressure off the center. Black takes pressure or defense away from E5. The whole thread of the gioco pianissimo is this delayed D4. So what do? I play D4. D4 is correct. Now black cannot maintain. Black is overwhelmed on E5. So it looks like black's making a mistake. Black has to surrender center. C takes D4. Bishop B6. I'm like, she'll play Bishop B6. She'll keep pressure on the D4 pawn. What did she do? She played this. This is weird. It's like, you're kind of putting pressure on my center in a weird way. You're not putting pressure on my center directly. You're putting pressure by attacking knight on D2. By attacking my knight on D2, you're like indirectly attacking my E4 pawn. So I played like the best move, Bishop C2. Now black plays Bishop G4. So she's got this hyper-modern thing going on where black surrenders the center, but now it's like a Slav where she's putting all the maximum pressure on my pawns indirectly by attacking the pieces that protect the center. This is very interesting. Bishop F3 attacking the knight that protects D4. Bishop B4 attacking the knight that protects the knight that protects D4. Attacking the knight that protects the pawn on E4. White's alright, and I played alright until this point. H3, Bishop H5. I don't want to go G4. I just played A3. I'm like, alright, take on D2 if you want to. I kind of expected her to do this, but white's better after bishop takes. I would imagine white is even better here. Like queen D4, bishop F3, pawn takes. Honestly, if black could like plant their knights on H4 and F4 and blockade the king's side. But I'm thinking here maybe white is better. Stockfish is on the fence about this. It's possible to play it though. It's possible that white, talk about hyper modern, only a Slav player could play like rook C8. But I probably would have played like bishop takes D2. More conventional move. So she plays bishop A5, and now is where I screwed up. I don't know what I was thinking. I really don't know what I was thinking. It was so obvious a child could do it. Like, I just have to play knight C4. It's the most obvious move in the world. It was like what I was just avoiding any kind of tricks. Like, I didn't want to have knight E4, you know, bishop E4, D5, or something like that. But I'm playing knight takes A5. There's no time for that. You know, this is idiotic. So I could have played knight here. She has to play like bishop here. And then I just grab this bishop whenever I want to. And I'm slightly better. But like an idiot, I played this. And now my knight is on a bad square. And I didn't track down her bishop. After bishop B6, black has adequate pressure on the white center with the pieces. And that is essentially hypermodernism. Here I'm probably still slightly better, but I have to be very careful. You know, one little slip and I lose, you know, a central pawn or get myself in some uncomfortable situation where I'm tied down. I played a4, a6, okay. Rook e1. At the end of the day, a4 hurt me because I weakened the b4 square. So I probably shouldn't have done that. If she plays a5, I probably have to play a4 anyway, though. And she probably should do it. Like, for example, rook e1, a5. Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to sit there and let black play a4. Truthfully, there are tricks, you know? I'm not sure a4 is a threat necessarily, but let's say black does, like, a4. What do I do? What's my next move? Maybe bishop e3. And if a4, knight d2, this is protected, and the a4 pawn is, like, overextended. I don't think a4 was a good idea. Yeah, Lovecraft is one of my favorite authors. My computer is actually sitting on... Jeez, guys, sorry. What was that? The water bottle. Scared everybody. My whole setup's falling apart. My computer is actually sitting on 2 Lovecraft books to keep it from overheating. The Call of Cthulhu and Other Weird Stories. Dreams in the Witch House. I've read like every Lovecraft story. But you got me distracted now. I think a4 is weak. Yeah, I wanted to play queen d3, but the thing is, black has bishop g6. It's not that simple. I eventually did play queen d3. Queen d3 is the Astermaid attack, one of our VIPs here. But it's very transparent. I mean, black would just play like bishop h7, and anyway, now I'm just getting myself pinned on the diagonal. This is not so easy. So I think this weakens my b4 square, which ends up being a problem. I thought she should play a5, but a6 is okay. Rook e1, bishop g6 anyway, and now I played a5, whatever. Bishop a7, and now I literally had no idea what to do. Like, I think I'm better here. I've consolidated my d4, I've consolidated my e4. I was even thinking of moves like rook a... I was thinking of playing like rook a4. I don't know what to do. You know, I just didn't know what to do. I was looking at crazy stuff like this, trying to play queen b4. I just don't know what I'm supposed to do here. I mean, I could play e5, but it just trades pieces. The problem is my knight on b3 is not great. Yeah, like, check out the engine. Okay, it likes my move. It's the #1 move, bishop f4. But it does not contain any active threat. It's just a move. Rook e8, excellent move, more pressure on the center. What am I supposed to do? So she's starting knight c6, which will be 1, 2, 3 attackers on my e4 pawn. I mean, it's very possible at some point I have to make a decision to like do this, but I just didn't see anything here. I just didn't see anything with e5, so I played this, and now knight c6. And now it's problems. This is attacked 1, 2, 3 times. It's defended only twice. And there's a threat of knight b4. I was almost going to play rook a4, and then I realized, oh, my e-pawn's just hanging. So what am I supposed to do? Am I overextended? So I found the only move that like doesn't drop a pawn. Queen b1. And I obviously see this, but there's nothing I can do about it. Now I'm losing my vital bishop on d3. So I found another way to do this battery, but it's even worse. And now I'm losing my e-pawn. I have to play this, 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 and now this. And I'm like, damn, that's a lot of pressure on my e4 pawn. So I have to play f3. I imagine black is winning somewhere here with tactics. Maybe a combination sacking there, hitting me with like queen d5 or something. I fully expected to lose here. d4, fe4. This is like, I have this book by Lipnitsky. The what is it called? It's called Questions of Modern Chess. It's a Russian chess treatise originally. He has positions in this book like very similar to this. It's like I'm like Pillsbury playing against like a more modern master or something, where I didn't know about hypermodernism. When Pillsbury learns about hypermodernism, Pillsbury against Chigorin, I'm basically like that. So I'm very concerned about knight takes e4 and then like queen d5. Maybe black rather has some tactics here. She just played queen d7. And then somehow I managed to like block the pressure on this. And at this point I thought, okay, maybe I'm equal. I'm still paralyzed to e4, but I have some space to compensate. So much for the ideal pawn center. Yes, here. And now, very close to losing tactically. Black could sack the exchange, but I don't see enough. For example, here. You could do this, probably, but it's like objectively worse. I didn't see a forced win for black at some point. I expected to lose. Now I'm threatening her with bishop takes a6, so she finds knight d5. This is now time pressure. We both played well. No blunders, I think, essentially in a tense position. Now queen g3, eyeing the g7 square. But she pretty much met me like eye for eye. Now the knight is hanging, so it goes back to e7, guarding the bishop on g6, so that she can play f6, blotting out my bishop and winning my d4 pawn. There was a lot going on in this game. And I saw knight f3 with the idea of playing this, and I'm guarding the d4, so that she can't grab it with check. If black plays f6, bishop c7, rook c8, and now bishop e6, we're keeping her off of this. I managed to stabilize the situation. Now I'm probably better. King h7, king h2. This is time pressure. Queen e6. But I'm saying better, I mean like a tiny bit better. And then I just like don't know what the best move is here. I went Steinitz-Schlechter style. White is slightly better. I played queen g4. I had serious doubts as to this actually being white's best move, but I just wanted to release the tension and try to clarify. And I do get good control of f5 here. So now she found an unbelievable move. This is knight g8, attacking e4. How many times did you like threaten my central pawns? Knight d2. But every time I was able to answer her threats with some defense. h5. And then it's just a blunder. G takes h5. Luckily my rook happens to be on the 5th rank. Bishop f7. g4. Attack here. I'm winning objectively, but now my pawn's attacked again. g5. Take, take. And right around here, we're in time pressure again. I thought I was going to get my rook trapped. I started to realize my rook doesn't have many squares. Rook f1, knight f1, rook d8, rook e5, bishop c4, knight e3, here, 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 here. And it's just time pressure. I'm probably winning this ending, but it requires very precise play. Objectively, yeah, I mean, king f4. If in the calm, cool, collected light of day, like maybe I would play king f4 here. E5 is not bad either. I'm winning now. But we're just in ridiculous time pressure. And she's so fast. She's like pre-moving. So I almost managed to like lose my rook on the diagonal. And there's all these weird checks and stuff. I'm getting mated. No, I have a square. And I eventually win by nature of this pawn. But check out the endgame. She defended really well. You know, maybe this is winning, but I didn't know for sure. Great defense. Is that a win? Rook takes b5? Yeah. So I missed. This has to be a knockout. I think I saw it, but I hesitated with seconds left, and I just play a6. Okay, it's not so simple. Here, here, here. I mean, if black didn't have a g-pawn, I would be completely comfortable. Technically winning, but very scary, like with no time left. So I decided not to sack the exchange. Played this, cutting our king off. Then b4. Then I went back. Then I played this. Then I sacked the exchange. Kind of a stupid thing to do. I improved her king for her. I should have sacked it with the king on g6. Here, 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 here. And I guess that's kind of a weird move. Maybe not. She can come to d7. Black should play king d7. And that g-pawn's got to go. So black cannot draw this. Wow, it's lost. This was a tense game. There was a lot of mistakes, but it was overall like a really good game. Oddly enough, like, she just couldn't support the g-pawn. Her rook is tied down, stopping the a-pawn. So it wasn't like she just like blundered that pawn. I thought it was a draw here, but I was winning all the way. But in time pressure, you know, you have doubts. And this was the one draw at the end. Rook takes a7. I blundered with king e6, allowing stalemates. It's tricky to win, though. Like, how do you cross over if here, here? So how do I cross over and actually make progress? I'm not understanding how white wins this. Oh, okay, that's what I did in the game. The bishop e6. It has to be that. So I have to go like king e5. She goes like king d7. Then I have to cross over with like king here. Check. Bishop d4. Rook a2. Bishop b6. King takes e7. And like king c6. And this is very similar to what happened in the game. Eventually, I was able to figure it out, and I played like... I allowed stalemate for one move with the rook takes a7. But she goes into this. It's winning now. Because I've got bishop a5. Her king needs to be one square closer. With the king on c8, I guess it's a draw. But that was epic. She wanted to get to c8, but she lost her rook. You can't have everything. Anyway, thanks for the game. Princess Chess. Very tough fight. Next is Acermate. Alright, guys. I'm taking donations for a new chair. My chair system is kind of complicated and painful. When I was in high school or junior high school, I was in this play. We were in a musical. We did The King and I. And I had to do some role where we had to kneel on the stage for like hours. I'll never forget that. We were in physical pain. It was like hazing. My chair is kind of like that, like kneeling on stage in junior high school. For 2 hours on the wooded stage. Is the chair adjustable? Yeah, it's like a Bobopedic, Mr. Coffee. No, I'm just kidding. Yul Brynner. Alright, now you're making me think of Westworld, which is like a favorite movie of mine. Anyways. Yeah, Uber driver, I'm not that old. I knew who Yul Brynner was. Like an office chair. Alright. It's like a kneeling chair. It's better for my back. But it's bad for my other parts. So you can't have everything. He was the robot in Westworld, of course. There's a line in a song about him. Steve Malkmus or someone. Yeah, he was the robot. Alright, let's go. E4, C5. This is Astrobate playing black. E4, C5, knight f3, G6, C3, D5. As I mentioned in the previous weeks, this is also an interesting move. Knight f6. I'll send you my address if you're interested in donating a chair. Keep in mind the duty for shipping from the United States to Hungary is somewhat expensive, but we do accept furniture donations. If you order on Amazon, alright, C3, D5, E5, and Bishop G7, D4. Oh my god. Now Amazon has good, they have good shipping partners here. I've been very happy with, and I also get refunds on my duties. They've been very honest with when I order stuff. There's like a VAT system I have to pay, import fees, but it's not that bad. So Astrobate, what are you doing? Why are you playing this? You played C4. Astrobate. How could you? How could you do this? Damn. It's a criminal move. It is a criminal move. Rubinstein is like rolling over in his grave, looking down on the earth and saying, how could Astrobate do that? How could he take pressure off the center in such a position? The C5 pawn keeps white honest. Astrobate, you have to remember, white has a space advantage on the king side with E5. If you play C4, he basically has a free hand to like kick your ass. The only thing that's keeping him from kicking your ass is the fact that you're putting pressure on the D4 pawn. When you play C4, you're like, okay, kick my ass on the king side. But as long as you got pressure, you're supposed to put pressure on this point. That's the whole point. Pawn takes, pawn takes. We put consistent pressure on D4. Whether it's queen b6, knight c6, bishop g4, whatever. The whole strategy about black's position, the entire game strategy is for black to try to target the d4 pawn, to keep white honest. Absolutely, Princess Chess. Lock him up. Well, actually, some guys delay bishop g7. Yeah, so you don't have to play bishop g7. Like, check it out. Check it out, Wendy. It's basically an idea from the modern defense. Gurgenidze. Sometimes this bishop could come out to play on this diagonal. So you don't necessarily want to commit to g7. You should consider playing knight c6 first. If you had time, you could play d4. But that's asking too much position in a different way, you know? Much like c4. But I think Uberdrive raises an interesting point that maybe knight c6 is more accurate. Maybe we can get away with delaying bishop g7. You're always going to play knight c6 for the most part. Better to delay bishop g7. Alright, so bishop g7. I mean, I should say something else. Like, this is the most common move in this move order. Usually white goes into a proper c3 Sicilian. So this is kind of a twilight zone. Maybe bishop g4. Also reasonable here. Of course, like on check, you don't want to hang a bishop with knight c6. Obviously. But this is criminal. Yeah, this is a terrible positional mistake. And so white decides to play b3, destroying or attempting to destroy the center. That's not the only approach for white. White could also maybe go like, I'm just going to ignore it and then attack black on the king's side. So b3 is okay, it's one approach. But another approach would be just like bishop b2, castles, move the knight and play f4, and play f5. White is now unperturbed. You have no pressure on his center, essentially. I mean, like, even, I don't know, knight g5 or something, trying to play for f4 is a move. You no longer have anything to keep him honest by putting pressure on the center. c4 is terrible. Okay, b3, b5. You cannot maintain that. Yes, a4. And the guy doesn't play a4. No, a4 is huge problems for black. Black's busto. It's busted. You cannot play a6. You can't maintain your pawn chain. You're just dead. It's just dead, man. You're gonna fall apart. This structure is just doomed. It's like a building that's gonna collapse. Structural deficiency. So, better off just taking, you know, sucking it up and whatever. I think you should just take and cut your losses. With c takes b here. Alright. b5. It's throwing good money after bad. So you can use the Discord command if you like. We have Discord command. B takes c. See, this is a problem now. The pawn remains. White missed his opportunity to play a4. And now this is kind of a cramping influence. That's why Uberdriver's a4 is so essential. That way he destroys the whole pawn chain. Now the c4 pawn remains influential. Knight h6, okay. This is a very bad move. White is just like making random moves. But bishop g5 is particularly bad because you're going to get hit by f6. You're like, please play f6. Not if you're playing Astrobate, though. No, I mean, f6 probably gets black close to equal here. Bishop f6. Not a move. That's a mouse slip. f6. I mean, we should just play f6 right away. See, Astrobai's problem is lack of understanding of pawn structures and pawn play. He's very good with tactics and piece play, but he needs to improve in pawn structures. And that's like what most people, you know, say under 2000 are really lacking. Alright, water for the computer to cool down. It's extremely hot in my office, everybody. It's like 95 plus degrees Fahrenheit. My computer feels like it's like 130 to the touch right now. So Astrobait, you've got to be willing to play f6. This move has many points. You attack his bishop, you strike at his center, you blot out his pressure on the diagonal, you give your knight a square at f7. If you're going to play the hyper-accelerated dragon, you have to be willing to play f6. This so-called rat formation is reasonable. He should probably take and play like bishop f4, then castle. And honestly, like even like g5 may be a problem. So he should consider like h4. This is maybe bishop f4 is not even a good square actually. I didn't like bishop g5. I think white's money should be on this diagonal. That's like a French winnower. This looks much more interesting. Now f6 is like out, probably. Okay, or just like keep the bishop on c1 and see where it's going to go later. But he's rushing this too early. h3 is not a bad move. Alright, so we've got a kind of weird position. White has space advantage. It seems to me that maybe king g2. This knight, where is his knight going? He put the bishop on d2. I mean, that's a strange choice. Maybe e3, so the knight could come to d2. Okay. f5. Nice timing. So you can't play this. And now I guess f4. Yes, play f4. Another question is, should white play en passant capture after f5? What about this? I don't know what's going on here, but I don't think that black is better. Peter thinks that black is better. Wow. Because of one particular thing. After queen takes f6, bishop g3, black can get in e5. Holy crap. I didn't think that was possible. Damn. You get in e5. It looks like this is hanging with check. But check this out. Takes, knight takes, queen takes d5 check, bishop e6, queen e5, bishop takes e5, bishop takes e5 check, king moves. Black is like down a pawn with radiation emanating from these bishops in both directions. That's like one only line where black is doing well. You have to find that. And the whole key is like getting an e5. Not easy to do. It would have been easy to misplay it. One variation where black is okay. And that's why it's not enough to just trust computer analysis. Because we're not computers and it's not easy to find like a 10-move variation. 9 out of 10 variations, black would have been in worse position, probably. he specifically has to find this take with the queen and play e5, dropping d5 with check, etc., etc., etc. Black is better. Otherwise, white is better. After this, white is still got a space advantage. White is still better. Now, queen e7, he drops a piece with f4. What to say? Astrobate. Anticlimactic. It's not my game with Princess Chess. It's an anticlimactic blunder by white with f4, losing a piece. As usual, your opponent has been outclassed tactically. f3, you win a clear piece. Now he gets creative. But this I don't mind, you know. I normally say don't take risks when you're material, but it's like 1, 2, 3. You get the whole pawn chain for one knight. That's a lot of pawns, right? Knight e5, d e5, bishop takes check, king g2, and now you need to take the other one here. The whole enchilada. Bishop takes e3. Astromate. Maybe he saw a ghost or something like this. I don't know. But you've got, you know, 2 pawns up with a bishop pair in an endgame. You're totally winning. It's a good sack, actually. Take, take, king g2. And now he plays bishop e7. Yeah, I don't know. I like the bishop better here, honestly, on d7. And maybe in this case we're going to need to protect the base of our pawn chain. But I like this better, just taking the pawn. Bishop e7. Queen h4. Oh. You know, now that you mention it, I guess you should have played queen h4 right away. White has to play queen e1. And then it's all over. It's just over. You're going to take this. So you didn't see it. I didn't see it either. Now you saw it. He played rook g1. Whoa. This looks like gambling. Takes. And now you've got mate. Alright, thank you for the game, Astrobate. Good one overall, but c4, please don't ever do that again. Don't ever do that again. Exactly, the moral of the game is not to play c4. Exactly. You never want to release the tension on the center there. It's the only thing that's keeping you in the game. It was unpunished by your opponent. He let you off the hook by not playing a4. Just remember that. Nefedov submitted a game here against good 40%. This is recent game from a couple days ago. I don't know where it was played. Thank you for the game, Astrobate. Thanks, everybody. Please support the stream if you can. Appreciate any sort of donations. We had a couple of gift subs today. Let me check out Bill 2WK Move 11. Please follow if you can. We've got e4. This is Nefedov playing white. No, I've got it backward. Alright, Nefedov is playing black. Still got a bunch of games to get to. Let's move it along. So Nefedov with a scotch with the black pieces. Where did my water go? Alright, scotch from Nefedov. Defending against the scotch. E takes d4, takes. Knight f6, knight c6, bc6, e5, queen e7, queen e2. Okay, so this is like one of the main lines. And my knowledge here is not very deep, since I don't play either side of this. I've played just g6 against the scotch with black. Maybe I play this some offhand blitz games, but I don't really know what I'm doing. So knight d5, c4, bishop a6. This is like the main line of the main line. Now b3, and now g6, and again it's like best play by both sides. g3, bishop g7, bishop b2, castles. And I agree with Nefedov here. Like, a lot of people castle queenside, but that seems very, very risky. It just doesn't seem safe. I've seen a lot of cases where black's king came under fire. White can make like pawn sacrifices. Ultimately, the king is not, it's just not safe in this position on c8. I don't see why you would choose to place your king over there in a less safe position. So castles kingside looks best. Bishop g2. Now I'm out of book. Magnus Carlsen versus Levon Aronian is a top game from 2010. There's some more modern games. A 96 game when Kasparov uncorked the Scotch. The Scotch was totally unfashionable until Kasparov brought it out into the open in the mid-90s. He also played the Evans Gambit around the same time. Rook a e8. Obviously black, is attacking the pawn in e5. That's the main feature of the position. Is white's center overextended? Castles. And so you can take the pawn. White is sacrificing this pawn on e5. Bishop e5, bishop e5. And I am out of book. Oh right, so I looked at this recently. That's funny. Queen e5, rook e5. Pawn takes, bishop takes f1. This is the main line, apparently. Nefedov either doesn't know or maybe chooses not to play this. Yeah, I mean, this is an imbalanced endgame. King f1, cd5. So, I don't mind black's chances here. I mean, this bishop's kind of shut down. Let's see, knight c3, c6. This bishop is shut down. Black has a rook and 2 pawns for the bishop and knight. And black's score is actually quite okay. So it appears rook d1 with the idea of this and this. Rook f e8, bishop f3, and black to play king f8 or a5, and black is slightly better. It's a bad sign for the Scotch if the main line of the Scotch leads to slightly better for black. White's going to have to come up with something else. But Nefedov has an original solution here. He doesn't take and then plays this. So obviously white has f4. At some point. I mean, another question will be like, is queen c5 a thing? For example, f4. This is the first move I want to look at. I have no idea if Nefi knows this. He's not here now. But I mean, the thing that occurs is, of course, this. This becomes a question. Black's position is kind of scattered and not well organized. Those two pieces end up out of play. We're assuming black will get back the piece here on e5. But after that, will ultimately everything be okay with those pieces on b6 and a6? Our main question. So rook e1 was played in a single game. This is clearly some kind of correspondence game. I never heard of these people. Thor and Oystein Lorentzen. Some kind of Norwegian. It's some kind of Norwegian correspondence game. But what about f4? So let's see what happened. Rook e1, f6, knight c3. Fe5, Nef e5, Queen e2. Those pieces are sad. See, like, white has, like, perfect coordination, and black's pieces are messed up. I mean, the advantage of rook e1 is clear versus f4. It's not as weakening, and it gets the rook off this diagonal. The easy conclusion is that Nefedov's variation just doesn't work. Knight b6 is just a blunder. You should just go into the other line. It's no problem. This is fine. So does Nefedov have an idea here? Rook e1 or f4? Unclear which is better. I guess rook e1. f6. Because d6 hangs the c6 pawn. f6. Knight c3. I mean, you could take with the queen. I was afraid that white would avoid the exchange of queens with something like this. But it should be considered. Maybe you can bail out if you find a way to keep bothering him. Here, for example, queen b2. Black's disorganization outweighs the fact that he's up a pawn. Just no coordination for the black position. If you could trade queens, you'd probably be alright, I would imagine. So fe6, queen e2, bishop e7. Wow. Rook d1. And now you move the queen again. It seems weird to move this queen again and allow like c5. I expected white to play c5. I wonder if Nefedov would play this and go into this. With pressure on f2. It looks like black is just about hanging on here. Queen f6, knight e4, queen e7, c5, knight d5. But I mean, this is a different story now. I mean, black is a pawn up. Can the bishop get in the game? Looks like d6 and bishop c8. Now this. Yeah, I don't like this. White's passer is too strong. Can we get that pawn somehow? Like rook a8, queen takes, rook takes a2, rook takes d7. Maybe not a big deal. Wow, it's a big deal. Computer says that white is winning. Wow. Queen f6. f3 just totally winning. It's brutal. It looks like there's not enough. Dude. Nefedov hit him with his trick. Oh man. There was no need to take this pawn. Well then again, I mean d5 is coming. It's funny, his queen got stuck out there on a7. The hammer of Thor. So it takes d5. So white had to sacrifice a piece. And then you pick up the vital pawn on a4. Or you have threat of bishop d5. Wait, these pawns are something. It looks like white sort of dropped the ball here. I mean, there's still a chance with b5. Maybe it's not enough, but I mean, 3 connected passed pawns is not anything to be sneezed at. He's apparently holding on. Oh man, this was all right. So Nefedov should not trade queens now. But I thought it was funny not to take the pawn on a4. What if you take the pawn on a4? You get trapped? That's definitely a safer approach. Computer says queen e6, queen e8. These moves are hard to find in time pressure. 3 connected passed pawns, man. This wasn't easy. Nefedov played it safe. But objectively, it's enough play for white. This is a very strange move. Rook a1. Still white's alright. But Nefedov set up a mate. Oh man. Yeah, white has this, keeping him busy. Nice job. Nefedov with a tricky mating attack with rook g2. White resigns. Alright, Nefedov, I wouldn't play that again. I wouldn't play knight b6 again. I think you were kind of lucky. That variation doesn't seem great. The other line, the main line, is totally good for black. White's just struggling to draw, it looks like. White needs to find something better. Alright, so then there's this game. World loser against Flamingo Pop. It's like the battle of the hyper bullet players. Submitted by Flamingo. We'll see who has more time at the end, and we'll judge the winner to be thus the player who emerges with more time at the end of the game. Chess Dojo Live rating with a party of a 65. Thanks for the raid, guys. What is up? Chess Dojo Live rating with party 65. Very generous. Thanks for rating the stream. We're going over some serious analysis of games here. This, however, was a game where we have two players who tend to play too fast. Play bullet speed blitz. Husky96, hey, what's up? Thank you for joining. Let's take a look now. Obviously, like, world loser is 2200. He's a decent player. I don't know what his exact ELO is, but I assume he's approximately 2100 ELO, FIDE. But he tends to play for time, and his opponent is even worse. The opponent playing black here, pretty talented player, but generally playing using almost no time on the clock. It's a bad habit that I see a very high percentage of players doing. I mean, if you're playing classical, rapid, or even slower blitz, you really need to use your time. I mean, especially if there's an increment involved. This tournament was from a 5+3 blitz game. I don't know how to explain this to people. You can't play strictly for time if there's an increment. Maybe if it's like 1 second, but you just can't play for flag. It's not a good strategy. Alright, e6, knight c3, bishop b4, and now World Loser played queen b3. I remember, I think I played this once myself. It basically transposes to classical lines a lot on c5, d takes c5. It will be very similar to the queen c2 variation after that, often transposing directly. For example, like castles, it's impossible. So knight a6, a3, bishop takes c3, queen c3, knight c5, stuff like this. This is a very well-known variation of the classical Nimzo. I don't know if it's still popular, probably not. But queen b3 is kind of unusual. There are other moves, but it's a good move to set the opponent thinking, especially if he doesn't know a lot of book. Bishop takes c3, unprovoked exchange on c3. Immediately like a suspect mistake because black is not using any time. So it's like the classical Nimzo where black would just like randomly play bishop takes c3 for no reason whatsoever. I mean, imagine if you play queen c2. Who's going to play this move? People have actually done this, but it's obviously absolutely against principle. There is no reason to release the tension here and give up your bishop for the knight for absolutely nothing. So that is a concrete mistake. Take, queen takes, castles, and now, of course, there's only a handful of games. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand. Is this like a joke game? Robert Marcus versus Horvath Adam in 2001. Well, he played a3. I mean, that's just like totally bizarre. So, World Loser played his favorite move f3. Alright. I will say that this is early, but it's a classical Nimzo. First of all, there's no dark square bishop on the board. The weaknesses around in the dark squares are difficult to take advantage of because black doesn't have a dark square bishop. f3 is more or less okay. Black plays d5. I think that's probably right, although it's not the only way to play. Maybe more classical would be something like b6, c5, bishop b7, or just c5 right away. Probably can't be played. You have to support it with d6 or b6 first. So d6, b6, playing for c5. I guess b6, e4 is better for white. So, again, this is dubious line for black. Exchanging on c3 unprovoked. Let's see. d5, okay. I like this. I like this particularly against f3. Bishop g5 now, reasonable. Knight on bd7 is also okay. Another option here for black looks better. Coco 2111, welcome. I think black can play takes. And the idea is b6 and bishop a6. If we play take, queen takes, b6, with the idea of bishop a6 or c5, may be reasonable. But I don't know what happens on like e4. See what the oracle says. Boom, got an 84. It's my COVID vaccine. I don't know. I didn't even think of knight takes e4. Just wipes white out immediately. Anyway, I don't know. You should just take the pawn. So queen takes c4, b6, and it's a normal kind of position. But black does this, passive, e3. If white has time to play stuff like bishop d3, knight e2, he has a very standard, kind of standard classical Nimzo with c5 and b6 coming. b6 is reasonable. Bishop d3 looks normal. c5. Yeah, so now the question becomes, what about something like this? If you do cd5, I think knight d5 again rears its ugly head. Knight d5, bishop d8, knight takes c3, because there's no c7 pawn. I've never seen anything exactly like this. It looks like black would have bishop takes b6 and win a pawn. But anyway, I'm just saying like why cd5 may not be good. Here, cd4. And so now world loser plays knight takes d4. I've seen very similar positions with like e takes d4 occur, and then like bishop a6 and black has a good game. What's the time? I can't see the time. Black's actually used 1 minute and 40 seconds, which is like his all-time record. Meanwhile, world loser used no time for the entire game. Not good time management. Anyway, knight takes d4. Thanks again for the raid from Chess Dojo Live. We try to do serious analysis here on Thursdays. I'll be back tomorrow morning with Blitz challenges if anyone wants to play. 11 a.m. CEST. Yeah, Lionel Spoon. I had my second Moderna on Monday. I don't know. I might still have like lingering fatigue. I was pretty tired on Tuesday. It's very hot here, so it's difficult. I can't really tell how serious my reaction to it was. Not severe. Knight takes d4, bishop a6. So, is knight takes d4 the right move? It is according to the engine. But I think this move should be considered. The problem is takes and then there's an isolated pawn. Black is fine. Alright, knight takes, bishop a6. Here, here. Now we pause for station identification. This is not happening because of knight c5. There's a threat of knight e4 in some positions again. This is too weird. So just recaptures. World loser really does that. I just doubt it works. DE6, knight c5, pawn takes f7, rook f7, b4. Does black have knight here? Let's just, for amusement, look at this. Pawn takes. Just for kicks and giggles, right? Black can sack the knight back. White has like no development. His king is still in the center of the board. The knight is attacking the bishop on g5. So like on queen d3, knight g5, h4, knight e6. And white has 2 pawns for a piece. Not very exciting. Yeah, I mean, world loser's just trying to be crazy and freak people out with unsound stuff. I don't think this is correct. You know, he's got to recapture this piece here. Just queen takes. I mean, why not? You have a good game. Queen takes. Maybe there was a problem. He didn't like this. You know, so this isn't a question of he's trying to be fancy. He realized over the board that actually black has knight c5 anyway, and taking here with the queen. And maybe he figured he had to go into something crazy. So take, b4, knight d5. Knight d5. I was talking about this. This, and now, what do you do? Do you take with the bishop, with a pretty threat there? Just castles. And white is like a pawn up. Or you take with a knight, allowing bishop takes d8, knight takes c3. The bishop's hanging on d8. Black must be more active. He's a pawn down, but I mean, put the knight on e4, this bishop on this diagonal, and like white's king is trapped in the center. There's no way this is okay for white. There's no way white is better because he's up a pawn here. Let's just say, like bishop h4, knight e4. I'll take black in this position. Rook c8 and alright, rook c1. Black has compensation. So there's craziness. Let's see what the computer says. Knight d5 was the best move according to the engine. Black played it in 1 second. Black found the best move according to Stockfish. I'm sorry, in like 2 seconds now with knight d5. I mean, dude, you've got to think about all these different moves here. How the heck would you find what the best move is using 2 seconds? You have 2 minutes and 15 seconds with a 3-second increment. You have to calculate this move, you have to calculate this move, and you have to calculate this move, and you're playing this move in 2 seconds. It just doesn't make sense. You're just like rolling the dice. It happens to be a good move. Bishop takes d8. And black is 500 points lower rated than his opponent. And now, my friends, white must be very careful. It looks like knight e6 drops to knight f4. Knight c6 loses to knight b4. Wow. White played knight c6 and black didn't play knight b4, double check, winning a piece. Because black made his move in 0 seconds, it's inexcusable. And you lost the game. You could have won a piece here with knight b4 double check. It's unbelievable. I can't watch this anymore. It's just like, why are these guys not using time? Hector Bat, welcome. Yeah, I was lucky. I don't know. I didn't have a lot of severe side effects with Moderna. I was just tired for like one afternoon and I feel fine now. Man, this is just ridiculous. I can't watch this. I mean, it's just garbage. White is just dropping a piece. The question is, does white even have a move? I don't think he even has a move. Wait, he must have something. Retreating backward. You have to play a backward move. Okay, this loses to knight f4 check. But I think this probably works. I mean, it's very likely white is lost because of the activity of the black pieces here. But if anything survives, it's only knight b3 or maybe knight c2. Let's see. Knight c2 is the best chance. But this just loses a piece. Yeah, I mean, black should have just won with knight c6. Alright, I can't watch any more of that. Next game, that should have been over. Alright, where am I? Studies I contribute to. We gotta move on. It is 9:17. We're going over submitted games. Analysis stream of the 17th. Thank you for the raid from Chess Dojo Live. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I can't watch any more of that. I mean, these guys are just playing bullet chess, hanging pieces, and I just don't do that. Sumeher against Zen Chess. This should be good. Game number 8. Astrobate doesn't watch the clock. D4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3. Alright, so it's a bishop g5. So a couple years ago, I noticed that Dubov and some others were playing bishop g5, c5 for black. This is a really good variation. that's pretty much solving black's problems. It's also less studied. I think that, you know, it's so good that probably white shouldn't play bishop g5. Though the positions are interesting. Maybe if you want to play bishop g5, you should stick to like knight f3, bishop g7, bishop g5. Objectively. I'm not sure I like this at all. And the other thing is, like, black can just do like the bishop g7, sack a pawn variation also. Bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6. This is a big problem as well. I don't think that this poses any problems for black. But c5 is really good. So it's a funny thing that there's still only 21 games in the Opening Explorer. It's interesting, this is kind of like, okay, not that many people play bishop g5. And probably it turned people off to playing bishop g5. So I wouldn't play this. Okay, knight e4 is like main line. Now, I mean, you really ought to consider bishop f4 and bishop h4. You played the old line. This is kind of lame for white. I mean, it goes back to like Lasker played this with white, and it was a favorite of Yasser Seirawan. But yeah, I think this line, I tried to play it for white. It's lifeless. Lasker had to grovel for a draw playing this system. I guess I can't remember who it was against now. I should remember that. But in any case, maybe it was Lasker versus Aliakin. I really can't remember. But it's not a good sign when, you know, like Seirawan groveled for a draw with white against Kasparov. I just don't think this line is good. You've got too many other good options. After knight e4, both bishop f4 and bishop h4 are like okay. I would prefer either of those moves to c takes d5. After this, knight takes g5, he played h4. Okay, this is what he's doing. I get it. You've played this line before. I was expecting, you know, the Seirawan approach. How does it go now? How does that go? I'm thinking of the other line. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of knight f3. Yeah, I'm thinking of knight f3. Sorry, knight f3, bishop g7, bishop g5, knight e4. And then cd5, knight takes g5. This is what Lasker played. Okay, this is different. Yeah. After bishop g5, yeah, I don't know. Knight e4, okay. Again, I mean, c5 is good. Knight e4 takes... So you're supposed to play bishop h4. This is unusual. Somewhere I saw this recently, though. Knight takes g5, h4, knight e6. This is totally new. Wow. White is compromised to some degree by playing h4. You won't be castling kingside, you know, just routinely after that. But I guess it's okay. White is better in the center. The other problem is that white has given up the dark squared bishop. Yeah, it looks okay. It's kind of like playing the Trompowsky. But I would imagine black's gonna have bishop g7, some long diagonal threats. You've got to play very actively here. There's a game where someone played d5. I mean, frankly, that looks absurd. I couldn't think of a more absurd move than d5. Anybody? Is it just my imagination, or is this move sort of stupid? I don't like d5. I mean, it just like weakens the long diagonal. Does that really benefit white to weaken the long diagonal. This game from 2018. I don't believe that can be White's best move. I'm sorry, guys. So, getting back here to where we were. After bishop takes c6, original position, e4. I mean, also, I'd like to be able to play e3 and just keep that bishop, you know, so what about like h5? I mean, what if we go for it? I want to disturb black's coordination, and on bishop g7, we can probably just play knight f3. But we've got threats like maybe h6 or something to mess up their coordination. It's all hinging on calculation, though. I don't know what happens if like c5. This may not be fast enough. For example, h6. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. The engine likes d5. Well, ain't nobody checked this with the engine when this game was played, unless it was a correspondence game. The engine likes d5 at first, but that doesn't mean that it will stick with that. Yeah, I don't personally like it. I wonder about h5. Bishop g7, e3. The problem is c5. He gets enough counterplay. It's interesting though. I mean, there's some crazy stuff going on like this. There's some really interesting lines. Maybe knight e4. There's a lot of unique stuff going on in this position. But e4 is similar. It doesn't do anything about the dark squares. In the same sense of d5. I'm not sure that does a lot for us. It kind of weakens our dark squares. But this move is I don't know. c6? It's kind of passive. I mean, we really want to attack the dark squares on the diagonal. Maybe Zenchess just wanted to like play queen b6 or queen a5, but you never want to play c6 in the Grunfeld. Let's say bishop g7, and if d5 whatever, you know, we'll go back. We're gonna crack the center with c6 now, maybe. This seems okay. Wait for white to play d5, then c6. But c6 is passive. Now black can play like bishop g4 at some point. Zenchess played like I might on a bad day. It looks like one of my like passive games. I'm trying to get away with something. h6 looks like something I would do. Preventing knight g5. Alright. Do we have time for everything? d5, cd5, ed5, bishop f5. I don't like it. I don't like it. The problem is queen d4 now. Now we got serious problems. Black is dead now. Damn. Yeah, I mean h6 is too slow. h6 is too slow. There's no time for that. Black's already behind in development. How can you do h6? As I said, it's something I would do on a bad day. Bishop g4 even. Like bishop g4 attacking the d4 square indirectly. This looks reasonable. Black's completely in the game. I was looking at like this. This. Queen takes b7. You know, stuff like that. Which is very unclear. I don't think that white would want to go into that. But h6 is really went too far. And now the d4. I don't like the look of this. So take. It's still not game over. Black's going to have to play like rook g8. What do we do on this? This looks awful for black. Check. Here. Knight e5. Knight d7, bishop d7. Queen a4. Now Zen Chess did the craziest move ever. He played bishop takes c3 check. I'm going to go, like, bang my head on the wall. You played bishop takes c3 check? Wait, what? This bishop for that knight on c3? You should have your master, online master, like, license taken away. I like Zen Chess, but, you know, he never does moves like that against me. This is kind of like a weird sort of panic move. I don't know. Why would you trade your bishop on g7 for the knight on c3? Damn. I mean, that is a seriously unnecessary move. If you just played a6, isn't, like, white overextended? a6, bishop takes d7, queen d7. What am I missing here? This is terrible. Queen d7, king d7, black's just better. This is weak. The bishop's unbelievable. It's like a dream come true. He can't trade queens. Maybe white could try something else. But seriously, Sumahara, you missed queen d4. In some moment, but I think the moment is now. White has to be just destroying black's ability to castle leaves black worse. Even though white's given up the dark square bishop. Now black's going to have a very difficult defense. So that was a weird game. I don't know what Zen Chess was thinking when he played knight, like bishop takes knight. He's just being too simple. This is okay now. White's like maybe slightly better. Let's call it equal. Rook a1, master. That's subtle. You never want to play rook a1. They know what you're going to do next. King d3. I guess rook c7. Zen Chess's move was similar. And then rook c5. Interesting. So basically, it's a draw at this point with correct play. This is a good move. Because the rook has lateral mobility. This is really a draw. Now it's a draw. Now it's a draw. Attacking the base. Or the, you know, basically attacking the important part of white's pawn structure. I like e6. But it's still maybe a mistake. Damn. Yeah, I mean, it's gotten to the point now where it looks like black is, black actually got the worst of it. The rook is badly placed on b4. Zen Chess plays e6 now. He's comfortable, right? Probably. But he plays king c5, and then this, and this rook looks stupid on b4. But after this move, that doesn't really do anything. Now he has to try this, rook d6. Rook d6 is probably still okay for black. To meet rook e2 with e6. What happens on like rook d6, rook e2, e6, takes, rook takes, pawn takes? I have no idea. But black's king is more active. It's probably a draw. It has to be a draw. You just evaluate based on common sense. Like, there's no way that either side is enough better here for it to be a win. Sometimes that's the simplest way to evaluate endgames. I mean, you have to ask yourself logically, should one side have enough advantage to win? You know? Probably it's a draw. That's all I know. F4. Tempo tempo, we're in trouble. So this actually requires care because the black king is so active. Anyway, this is not what happened. E6, and then suddenly there's a weakness. We got a problem. Probably it's a draw, but now black's on the worst side of it. Check, king c6, g4. The rook is in the worst possible position. And yeah, I mean, again, it's still probably a draw. But it went from better for black to better for white. This is a good move getting active. And it's still a draw. I think I remember now. He got the rook on h5. It's a theoretical draw. We saw the end of this. The rook pawn is not ideal. But Zenchess blew it at the end in a tough position. He was too far away. So the key moment comes a little bit later. He's holding, and then this loses. Black had to be very, very careful here. The rook pawn is the worst pawn to have. The white king can't maneuver on both sides of it. So black rook needs to get behind. But how to get behind? He played naturally rook a1, and it's too slow. Rook g7 check. King c8, h6, h7, and whatever. h6, rook here. So we saw a variation in the analysis after the game where I think the rook was coming back here to d8. But this is obviously over. Alright, Sumaher, good endgame. It was a draw, but very tricky. I've got to move on, guys. It's getting late. I've got 2 more games left. This is Bill 2K. Bisonov versus St. Louis Chess Club. St. Louis Chess Club versus Bisonov. Apparently Verusian was playing white. Bisonov said it was a boring game. d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4, queen c2. Another classical Nimzo. Thanks everybody for joining me. Try to do serious analysis of the games here. Submitted on Thursdays. We had a raid from Master Chess Dojo, or Chess Dojo Live, sorry. And I try to be serious about the game. I think those guys are too. Not a lot of streamers are. c5, d takes c5, bishop takes c5. This is not the main line. I have played both moves, castles and bishop takes c5. Yeah, you should not be out of book. You don't want to be out of book on move 5. No. So castles is main line. a3. Yeah, I don't like that. That's not right. You got to take on c5 now. Then knight f3. b6. This is tough. Pretty much every game I ever played in this variation was unpleasant. But apparently black's just about okay. There are a lot of different ways to play the black side of the classical Nimzo. If I had to recommend a line now in this moment today, I would probably tell you not to play c5. It's tricky. You know, I think the easier lines to play are like castles and d5, honestly. This is probably like the hardest variation of the like 3 main moves for black to play. So after d takes c5, there's just like never ending pressure on the d file. Bishop takes c5, not considered main line. Knight f3, castles, Now white has choices. Bishop g5 or bishop f4. Slightly better for white. You know, it is possible for white to play e4 here. I can't remember. I had a game with Justin Sarkar, I think, like in 2006, in a variation similar to this, but I don't think I played like you did. I think it was actually with knight on c6. I don't know this exact position. It looks inferior for black. So should white play e4? What if you're out of book at move 1? I mean, you try to play according to principle. Play openings where it's easier to play by principle, not like crazy, chaotic, insane positions. You play the Queen's Gambit declined, something solid. The Nimzo is not too bad for playing, like, finding logical moves. You don't want to play, like, complicated, insane tactical, you know, you don't want to play like the Dutch. I don't know. But, bishop takes c5, knight f3. Now, I thought you're supposed to play queen b6 here. I have played this in Blitz. The idea, I don't remember who played it first. I saw some Istvan Cham game from a long, long time ago. I think he was one of the first. Basically, you attack f2 and force white to play e3. This is a relatively accepted variation. Then queen c7. So you force white to make concession, blocking the bishop in. They have to go with an alternate development like b3. Then you can play a kind of hedgehog formation. If you want to play this move order with immediate bishop takes c5, I think that's the better way to do it. Because it looks to me like you're ending up like in a slightly inferior main line here. White didn't have to waste time with a3. Bishop e7, e3. So Varousia just plays conservatively, but objectively this is sharper. Yeah, I mean, I definitely prefer b6. You might be able to play d5. I wouldn't rule it out. So, you're given a choice between b6 and d6. Probably you go with b6 here. But he chose a kind of passive setup. Knight on bd7, castles, rook e8. This is extremely passive. Again, like, you have to set up a hedgehog with b6 and a6 and bishop e7. If you didn't lose this game, you're kind of lucky, because you really played rather passive move order. a6, rook c1. He's in like robot mode. And now knight d4. You get this. I had a game very similar to this recently. Sure. I guess if white wants to be creative, they might play pawn takes. I wouldn't say that's absurd, but I don't think he's going to do that. But he was just very unambitious. I mean, I wouldn't blame, you know, this game being boring on black. You played a little bit passively, but white was very unambitious. b3. Now maybe queen b7. You still haven't completely, you know, equalized the game until you get some kind of break. But the hedgehog's tricky business. Maybe you can just live with that backward pawn. I definitely would exchange there. I guess he'll take with the pawn now, with the queens off the board. He would get control of the e4 square. Varousia's a good positional player. I'm kind of surprised though, like, you did this. This is just guarding. And then that's it. You got him b5. I mean, I guess knight c2 is just a blunder. I mean, he doesn't want to allow b5 really. Maybe it's not bad. Maybe he's just gonna play knight e3. White's still better. Yeah, it's like typical style for him. Kind of boring, but correct. It was ugly for you. I mean, you're slightly worse. No, solid game. Especially if you don't know the theory. Alright, last game. Thank you for sharing that. Draw with Grandmaster Baruja Nakobian. Last game was move 11. I was supposed to do move 11 first, actually. Sorry, move 11. We left you till last. The best for last. Alright, sharing a game for the stream today. We'll see what the... Not the blitz game against me. Alright, good. It's move 11 versus Sundar Esan. 1958. Let's see what's up. Thanks everybody for supporting the stream. We're going to be back tomorrow morning. People don't make games boring. No, we got to come up with an expression for that. People don't kill people, guns kill people. I don't know how it works, move 11. You got to come up with a good expression. Thanks everybody. Please support the stream. Appreciate it. Last, thanks for the raid. Alright, e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. playing blitz challenges here. cd4, knight d4, knight f6. We've got the Najdorf. Move 11 plays bishop e3. We've got the English attack. Lionel Spoon, thanks for sharing. 100 bits. Every little bits counts. Bishop e3. Thank you very much, sir. Cheers for the cheers. So, of course, there are two main variations. e5 and e6. e5 is more active, but it commits to a weakened d5 square. Now, that's like the safer way for black to play. You don't give white as much of a space advantage. e6 is riskier, more combative, probably a better way for black to play for a win, let's say. Kasparov always liked to play e6, but a lot of modern Najdorf players prefer to play e5. They're both playable. I think e6 is riskier. We have f3, bishop e7. I have played the lines with e6 by transposition myself, and I can tell you, it's not a lot of fun. It's not easy for black to defend these positions. But, I mean, bishop e7 isn't very common. You know, usually it's like the knight d7 with b5. So b5, sometimes even knight f d7. And black doesn't touch that bishop on f8, seeking immediate queenside counterplay. Lots of very complex theory here. Entire books have been written about this variation. I remember the Finnish I.M. Samuvuo played, or rather wrote a book completely about like English attack. I mean, there's just tons of theory here, but this is the way I've played in the past. I mean, it's a line. Queen e2, knight c6. I always thought it was like a slightly improved Curie's attack for black, because white has taken the time to play f3, whereas in the Curie's attack you just play g4. You don't even have to spend a tempo on f3. But objectively, the lines are so good for white that it's still good. All right, g4, h6. Yeah. I would not play h6. I'm castling here. I'm taking my chances. This is Ponomarev, Kasparov, 2002. Basically, you castle kingside. If you play bishop e7, you castle kingside and you don't touch the pawns. That's all there is to it. You know, it's a flat line, kingside formation. But this is not a very popular defense for black, as I said. Much better to go with the b5, knight fd7, knight b6, all this stuff. All right. So queen d2, knight c6, castles is best. Black plays h6. And basically, like, now white should be able to open it up. You're going to be able to open them up with like h4 and g5 at some point. Sometimes the queen can come over here. That's another slow move. I mean, black just doesn't really know what he's doing. Queen c7 and h6, both very hesitant, like kind of weak setup here for black. Sham Sankland against Mark Tyler Arnold. This is not right for black. Queen c7 and h6 is bad. h4, bishop d7. Look at the score. Win, 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 win. Someone allowed to draw. And now bishop e2. So I'm thinking queen swinging over here for you. Didn't you have another game, move 11, that was similar to this, where black like castled queenside? Am I imagining that? I swear we saw another game. Queen f2. It's possible to play for knight a4, knight b6. I feel like, why is this not a move? Supporting g5 and guarding the rook on h1. Now black will definitely castle queenside. You know what it was? It was somebody submitted a game to my stream, for this analysis stream. It was like Dr. Trip Chance plays black in the Skaven or something, where he did, no, it was Dr. Trip Chance in the Rouser, where he castled with, when I had my Rouser thematic tournament, he did something like this, where he castled, it looks like that. Black is playing the Rouser, not the Najdorf. So queen g2 is too slow. He'll castle queenside. This is the kind of position where you ask yourself, what would Emery Tate do, you know? I have to say he was good at these type of positions. Rook g1, with the idea of simply playing g5. Black can't castle kingside. It's not happening. So, yeah, this looks best. I don't remember if we looked at this move 11, but it looks kind of familiar. Did we ever look at this? Rook g1 looks very strong. It looks over, man. He's going to have to castle queenside, but that doesn't look right. He's not Mr. Personality, but Lubomir Fatachnik was a excellent theoretician. I don't give him bonus points for his behavior. All right. Anyway, I like to get little digs in on people. Bishop e2. Don't worry, move 11. He's not castling kingside. Castles queenside. I knew it. g5 takes, and now knight h5, hitting g3. Maybe now you're rook g1. He did rook dg1. Black can play knight g3. No, rook hg1. I think move 11 was too hung up on the h file. It doesn't really matter that much anymore. Now that he's gone queenside, you should probably just play this. Just keep him off of g3. It's not like he's getting off the... How is he getting his knight off the h-file here? How is it ever getting off the h-file? He can't use the h-file with his knight on h5. Probably you're just clearly better. This looks weird though. You know, like what are your rooks doing there? He can actually play this, trading off his bad knight. I think that's a mistake alone. What are you going to do after knight g3? He found it on the next move. So, yeah, this is a bad deal. He finally sees it. You forced him to see it. You played f4, attacking his knight. And now you lost the h-file and had to give up your bishop. I wonder which recapture is right here. Is it worthwhile to consider this, keeping pieces on? Not move 11's top game. Not like you played against me the other day, man. This is not a game move 11. Knight ce2, rook h8, and now he's got the annoying h-file. Your rook is absolutely hopeless on g1. But objectively, maybe you're still okay. How's that? I don't like that. That's annoying too. Now he's like trading queens. Good choice. You've got to make it about his king somehow. Can we ever have some threats against his king? f5. Can we break it open? Now that's a very passive move by black. He was concerned about, I guess, a sort of thing like a3 and bishop e6 and his queen is trapped. He's basically 2 moves away from a queen trap, so he plays queen there, but that looks boxed in. Like if you're going to put your queen on a square, I don't know, would you choose d8 or c7? It's not like you can go to h8 or something, double on the h-file. Right. Finally, we got the rook off of g1. And that's an aggressive move. Now I would have played a3. You played bishop e6. Here. That's a great square. I like the situation better now. This is just a blitz game. Clearly. 94. Oh, and the guy trapped his... Sorry, he sacked his queen with d takes e4. Fancy play syndrome has been called. Does black really have to sacrifice the queen now? Master? He's got a knight and a rook for the queen. Somehow that doesn't seem absolutely necessary. I agree, like, his queen placement is pretty stupid. In the first place, it all started with, like, queen d8. His position was reasonable. But he's still not even... He's not even facing a threat of getting the queen trapped yet, right? Like, the queen could go here and here. Maybe black just needs to, like, think of something a little deeper. There's no way to get this in based on the weakness of g5. This is a problem. I gotta go, guys, but I'm gonna wrap this up. Wow. Bishop d8 is the best move. That's freaking deep. Stopping bishop e6. He got his queen in this sort of strange situation here. I mean, b7 wouldn't be so bad. Now it's too late. By the way, let's ask ourselves a question. What happens if rook h1? Rook h1, bishop h1. Do you have something here? It doesn't appear you do. Damn. That's it, man. Rook h1 just equalizes, and he missed it. Do you want to sack your queen or equalize with rook h1? Oh, I think I'll sack my queen. Alright. d5, knight e4, takes. It's just not good. He's like, no, it's a fortress. Not quite. What about, like, bishop c5? Does he really have this? Is this really a fortress? And if you move your bishop this way, he just, like, goes here? I'm not buying this. I don't know. I can't believe this is a fortress. I don't believe this is a fortress. But b4 is definitely not a good move. There are some ways you could get mated, I guess. Do you have to do b4? I understand why you did it, but do we have to do that? Best move according to the engine. Definitely not a good move. It's not second best. I would rather not do b4. Yeah, b3 has some kind of problems, I guess, with the king not being safe. But move 11 found a way. He found a way in, it looks like. That was pretty crafty. That's nice. Now it's not very fortressy anymore. Alright, man. Interesting. Your opponent missed a key rook h1. Alright, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the support for the raid from Chess Dojo Live, for the donations from those who did gift some subs. Bill 2WK, Move 11. Thank you for the bit donations. We'll be back live here at 11 a.m. CEST. Move 11 just gifted another one to Husky96. Thanks, everybody. Thanks particularly to Mr. Coffee. Mr. Coffee is the world's best moderator. He's been very faithful. I appreciate his help. Thanks to all you VIPs, Move 11, Asterbait. Thanks, everybody. I will see you tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. CEST. From the Panda and myself, bye-bye.